Thank you so much for joining me on the heels of your quarterly earnings, which were incredibly strong, both from a top line and bottom line perspective. And you raised guidance again. What gave you the confidence to raise guidance for a second time?
Great to be with you, Morgan. Yes, we've had a fantastic quarter, another record quarter, delivered strong top line revenue growth, over 60% up since last year's same quarter. Our backlog is robust. The demand for our solutions and our innovative solutions is really, really robust across the globe, not only just in the United States. We're at an inflection point. As I said before, the solutions that we have delivered and invested in over the last several years and decades has actually is setting new. It's a paradigm shift for the U.S. DoD and our allies. The conflict of the future is going to involve a lot more small unmanned systems and loitering munitions, such as our Switchblade and Puma systems and JUMP 20s. And we're at the forefront of that. We're the leading company in that space, and we represent a very, very large opportunity for our customers and our shareholders.
And in terms of how quickly that demand translates to orders and then sales, what is the time frame?
So our book to shipping cycle, or book to bill, is quite fast relative to the defense market. Typically, when we book an order, our lead times are within 90 days, maximum of 6 months usually. But we've been able to ship much faster than that. For example, the first Ukraine order that we received for our Pumas, we were able to turn that around and ship it within 27 days. So wow. Our ability to actually build in advance, and that's one of the reasons why we've increased our inventory levels and production rates, because the urgency is very, very high, and so is the priority for our systems, because they're making such a big difference in these conflicts. And of course, Ukraine is not the only one. Israel's conflict is another one. While our hearts go out to the people of Israel, Palestine, as well as the people of Ukraine, our solutions are ideal for those kinds of conflicts, and it represents an opportunity for us as well. So we tend to capitalize on that, and we've actually positioned ourselves really well to benefit from those trends as well as those demand drivers.
Are you receiving orders from Israel right now?
We have not received any orders specifically for Switchblade, but there is a request on that, and there is actually funding in the supplemental $100+ billion budget proposal that's in front of Congress. And that budget proposal is for both Ukraine, Israel, and potentially Taiwan. All three of them would like a lot more Switchblades, a lot more Pumas, a lot more JUMP 20s. And so there are specific dollars allocated for those things specific to our systems in that supplemental budget.
And of course, that supplemental budget and when and how and if it gets passed is very much in focus right now. Your expectations for that, but also your expectations for getting the fiscal 2024 budget passed as well, as we continue to operate on a continuing resolution.
Sure. So fiscal 24 budget for the government doesn't really affect our fiscal year 24, which we're in right now, halfway through, primarily because we have most of the orders, if not all the orders that we need to ship in our backlog, and we have actually worked the supply chain really, really effectively so far, and we're prepared for that. What continuing resolution will do is allow for longer programs of record and additional contract demand to be executed a little more expeditiously. So yes, we really hope the support for our solutions are bipartisan. Both houses of the Congress, in the White House and Pentagon, our systems are performing really well in real world applications and environments, in real battlefields. And we've got a significant capacity for manufacturing. We're the only company that I know of that can produce these things in tens of thousands, if not thousands of units a year today, not tomorrow, today. And we can do it at the DoD's level of rigor and quality and reliability and performance for the battlefield. Lots of prototypes and companies that claim to be able to do that, but there's no one that I know of that can do it in the scale that we can do, especially for the type of requirements and demand that U.S. DoD is talking about, such as the replicator program and other U.S. DoD stockpiles of drones and loitering munitions. So we're really well positioned for that, and we're very well qualified to execute on it.
So when we see 62% top line growth year over year for the quarter, which represented an acceleration from what was already double-digit top line growth, is that sustainable?
Well, look, we expect this year, we raised our guidance for this year on top line, and we feel really, really good about the future. I've said it before, and I will repeat, we are at an inflection point in our business. the mindsets of the strategists in the U.S. military and DoD, as well as our allies in the world, for that matter, has essentially completely changed in terms of what small unmanned systems and loitering munitions can do on a peer-to-peer fight, on a coin conflict, or any of those types of conflicts. It is becoming a major part of the U.S. DoD strategy and our allies. We are the leader in that. We are the only company who's delivered these things reliably and effectively in very large volumes over the last decade plus. And we've got an enormous amount of new capabilities and solutions in the pipeline to help our customers even further. So I think that all of that, given the dynamics of how low the inventory levels are in the U.S. DoD, how low the inventory levels are and stockpiles are in our European allies in the Asia Pacific region, it really sets us up for a great set of opportunities in the years to come. And not only are we going to have a great performance this year, we expect this performance to continue beyond fiscal year 24 and even further than that.
Yeah, I mean, autonomy, unmanned systems, as you mentioned, huge area of focus. You mentioned Replicator. I guess whether it is Replicator or some of the other service-specific pushes or initiatives into more of this type of capability and technology, how do you expect it to continue to become a bigger part of what's playing out on the battlefield? And perhaps just as importantly, what have the lessons that have been learned been so far in some of these conflicts where things like the Switchblade are being deployed?
Sure. So lots of lessons. Replicator is another example of how the U.S. DoD and DepSecDev Honorable Kathleen Hicks is actually talking about a distributed unmanned portfolio of drones and loitering munitions and ground robots and comms all across the theater of a battlefield. That's just one. But the lessons learned really from Ukraine and Azerbaijan and Armenia, and now lots of other conflicts that are brewing around the world. Unfortunately, the world is not a safer place today than it was a year ago or two, is that small unmanned systems in large volumes, coupled with loitering munitions in large volumes, coupled with low cost and coupled with AI and autonomy in a very highly contested battle space can do enormous things and damage to our adversaries. So the US DoD has awakened and realized we need to have a much larger quantity of these, and they all must be integrated. They all have to have AI and autonomy in them so they can do their missions in a contested environment, such as Ukraine, where jamming is extremely high, both GPS jamming and communication jamming. And these systems can actually identify targets with high level of confidence. They can prosecute the target and minimize the collateral damage almost zero. That's exactly how our solutions are designed, and it's intended to be used. And so we're at the forefront of that. And I think those lessons are going to play itself out in our U.S. national defense strategy and our industrial base and our allies around the world, not just Europe, but also Asia Pacific, all going to drive more demand and more exciting solutions to the market.
You just closed the Tomahawk Robotics acquisition. How does that play into this and where this capability evolves to?
So Tomahawk is a very key part of this because we would like to integrate all these robotic systems together, not only our own, but even a competitive platforms, ground robots, air robots, robots on the water. We would like to integrate them so the warfighter can have a common operating picture on the world and environment around them. We are ahead or on target, on track with our integration. The customer feedback on Tomahawk Robotics has been great. And part of the reason why we actually raised our guidance was not all because of Tomahawk Robotics contributions, but some of it is due to Tomahawk Robotics contribution on top line. And we've got plenty of organic growth, but Tomahawk also contributed to that. So we're very excited about Tomahawk Robotics, and we have a very aggressive plan over the next multiple years to integrate that capability into all of our systems and a lot of our other platforms of our partners and ecosystems in our customers' environment to make their lives easier. And really, it's another layer of our strategy to get to more fully autonomous, interoperable, intelligent, multi-domain robotic system for our warfighters.
We do have a number of startups. I think of Anduril Industries, but there are others out there too, and even some of the other established defense contractors out there that are increasingly focused on autonomy. How would you assess the competitive landscape moving forward?
So I'm glad you asked, number one, Morgan. And number two, I usually don't comment on our competitors because we've got so much great stuff going on. But I want to mention a couple things. One, our track record is phenomenal. It speaks for itself. What we have been able to do over the last several decades and what we continue to do now is a different ball game. The fact that lots of players are entering the market is a testament to how large the opportunity is and how much growth potential there is. But these players are yet to be tested and yet to deliver high DoD grade capability, program record level capability and rigor into their capabilities at volume and at affordable costs. We can all talk a great game, but what really matters is when we deliver. We focus on our capability, we focus on our execution, and we focus on our results. And so far, I'm very pleased with our outcomes, and we look forward to actually continuing that process. And while I always respect all of our competitors, we've got a lot going for ourselves to be proud of and to be optimistic about the future for AeroVironment.